Welcome to another episode of Everything Intellectual Property. Today, we have a very special guest with us. This person has created a knee pain reduction strap that not only reduces your knee pain, but also reduces the likelihood of you rolling that ankle. Please help me welcome the founder of Functional Fitness, Renee Moten. How is it going, Renee?
It's still a glorious morning, Dave. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I've been so excited to talk about my strap.
And I can tell it's Friday, you're kind of in that the mode of classes and kind of preparing for classes and things like that. And I can feel the energy, and I'm ready to go work out after. I know we were taking a little bit ahead of time and just feeling that energy. I'm ready to go work out after this thing. So this should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. And I know I just saw the straps there. Can you maybe explain? I like to, for the audience, kind of explain what it is that you have invented. In this case, your knee pain reduction strap. Can you maybe kind of show and talk a little bit about that?
Okay, absolutely. Thank you. First of all, the reason that I am even on this show or in this business of health and wellness is because back in probably about the 1980s, I had a soccer injury where I rolled my ankle. And that particular soccer injury turned into 20 years of knee pain. So
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how important our functional ankles are to our knee health. And so one thing I found out as I was going through my journey, because I kept working on my knees when I should have been working on my feet, my ankles, and my shins, I found that I couldn't do what we call eversion, inversion of my ankle. It just would not, I couldn't find something that really did it well.
Okay.
And so that's when I started and then I was also trying to teach other people how to do it. It was like, they couldn't do it. I said, okay, I'm going to create something that could do this. So that's where the strap came in at. And this is what it looks like. It has these beautiful handles on there that you can hold on to, which is, they feel so good on your hands. And what they do is when you use it properly, it actually turns that ankle full range of motion. And this is what's going to really help a lot of people to stop the ankle rolling, because the fact that nobody usually can get all the way in that full range of motion. Okay.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. And I think the thing about it, I love about it is first it will stretch your ankle and then you push back against the resistance. And that's going to be the strengthening.
Oh, and that's interesting because I play basketball. I'm a former athlete. You see the jersey in the background from my Michigan State days. And now kind of being in my 30s, I'm not kind of playing football anymore. And I like to kind of work out, but I like to, from a cardio perspective, I wanted to be in competition as opposed to me just kind of running around the track or running in the neighborhood. So I do play basketball, and maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I rolled my ankle, and for whatever reason, it's taking way longer than I wanted to heal. But I'm not sure if it's maybe Achilles injury, whatever the case may be. But I found myself going to the gym when I go to the gym and work out, those stretchy bands, just kind of using those to try to strengthen my ankle, kind of do different exercises and whatnot to strengthen the ankle. Can you maybe kind of explain? And I'm not sure if you know what kind of those stretchy bands that I'm talking about. Those bands. Yep. So do you know, I guess, what differentiates your product or your band even compared to those ones? Because, obviously those are just kind of readily available, at least at the gym I go to. And I was just using one of those. But it seems like this product would not only help out with kind of strengthening the ankle, but also providing additional function as far as stretching. You maybe kind of tell how your product differs and is more, I guess, kind of advantageous over even that type of band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing about the TheraBand will give. When you try to pull your ankle into eversion to stretch it, it loosens up because it's a stretch band.
Yep.
This has Velcro. It goes around your foot, and it will pull you literally as far as you can. It will hold it. That's the difference. Okay. And then the key is when it's all the way, Dave, in that full range of motion. Yep. I'm starting to learn that when you strengthen in that arena, strengthen in that motion,
yep,
collagen gets stimulated around the tendon and makes them stronger. So I didn't realize that. I was just trying to get my ankle to go. I'm like, Now I'm learning that I can really get, and then I wasn't going to make it this strong because I was just looking for the stretch. But now, if you push back against the resistance, now you're actually helping to strengthen the tendon.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it seems like this thing has a number of benefits from not only, again, stretching, but also strengthening the ankles, which it seems like from what you were saying earlier, the ankle, that being strong and kind of being properly stretched and things like that helps out the knee.
Yes. And I think the E version, nobody ever can really get an E version. E version is very difficult.
Okay.
This strap will take you totally in the E version. Because if you don't get the E version strong, it's going to be very difficult to get the inversion strong. So that's why people keep rolling their ankles, because they can't get both sides strong enough.
And I think of, because I know just kind of doing some research, this thing is kind of good, especially when you're talking about sports, football, basketball, soccer. And I think of some of those athletes who are a little bit more, for whatever reason, I know everybody's bodies are built different, but the ankles are a little bit more weaker. I think of Steph Curry with basketball and how he kind of always rolls his ankle, even though he has supports and things like that, ankle supports and braces or whatnot on. Does this help, even if you have, like, I guess, just kind of genetically weaker ankles? Is it a way that you can kind of use this product to kind of help strengthen those ankles, even though they may be just kind of genetically, maybe, I don't want to say weaker, but, kind of less strong than, I guess, the typical ankle?
Yeah, what I have found is a lot of times when they're strengthening people's ankles, they're putting tension on the ankle. They're on those the pads, and you're on one foot, you're rocking back and forth. But when you do that, you're already putting the particular muscle under stress. What you want to do is you want to take the stress off. So if somebody is constantly rolling their ankle, first of all, let's get you full range of motion, okay, and then gently take you back into the opposite direction and strengthen, stretch, strengthen, stretch, strengthen. And like I said, when they go as far as they go, that's when the collagen comes out. That's what gets stimulated. And that's when the strength comes in. And I can almost guarantee you they probably have not gotten into the E version, which is difficult to do, right, and strengthening that side of the ankle. Oh, and one other thing I noticed too about this strap, which is fantastic, exactly what you were saying about the Achilles, is when I had one client, she just could not get her to touch her toes. So we put her in this strap, and I said, go back and forth. And as she's going back and forth, she's leaning forward. And guess what? She can touch her toes now. Wow. From finding out, this is probably part of why some people can't touch their toes, is because the eversion, inversion muscles are still too tight.
Wow.
I was like,
no, for sure. Absolutely. That definitely sounds like something there. So let me ask you this question. So it seems like you were saying that you rolled your ankle way back when, and then found out that led to knee pain years later. How did you kind of make that connection? It seems like, from understanding, doing research, that you did a ton of research on this kind of issue as far as kind of knee pain or whatnot. How did you kind of connect, okay, me rolling my ankle years ago kind of led to the knee pain that I'm experiencing all these years later? How did you kind of make that connection?
Well, first of all, pain makes you look up a lot of things, okay? So let's get that out there. Okay, so when I had hurt my ankle first, okay, and my ankle seemed to heal up. Now, every time it kept rolling all the time, but it didn't hurt. Okay. So I was still playing my soccer, still working out. The first thing that happened, this is so important, is my feet started to hurt. I started to get bottom of my feet started to hurt, and I ended up with plantar fasciitis. Okay, so that's the first. Yeah, feet problems it will tell you you're going to have knee problems in the future. So think about it. My feet are hurting, and I'm still trying to walk. So what do you think is happening when I'm walking with my feet hurting?
That pain is going up to the knees, or?
Yeah. Yep. I'm putting stress on the body. So I'm limping. So one side of my body is getting stronger than the other. So now I do a squat. Ow! And my knees start to hurt. Because for years, I was putting all this stress on my knees and on my hips. I didn't know it because my knees wasn't hurting. No. I did one little squat. And then the knees started hurting. And then I started to do all this strengthening exercise that they tell you to do, which I'm going to apologize here, are not really good for you. Because the only thing it did was get my other knee to start hurting. So then I have both knees. And no matter, Dave, how much I kept working on my knees, I went to 4 different orthopedic doctors. I did it all. But it wasn't until this one man said, your ankle rotations you need to do ankle rotations because usually that's what causes your knee problems.
Yeah.
Like, and that's when I started to put 2 and 2 together. I said, oh, well, that's why my knee is hurting. I never knew why.
Yep.
And
let me ask you this, and I don't want to get too far off the rails here, but I guess as I'm finding out, as I'm kind of growing older, and we have all this trust that we put in our doctors or people who are kind of get are paid to kind of rehab us and get us back to 100% health. But as you kind of find out that whether there's a doctor and kind of the things that they say that we should be eating, which maybe we shouldn't be eating, or even a therapist or somebody who's supposed to be kind of stretching us and kind of make sure physically we're rehabbing the way we need to. It seems like as you get older, you find out that those things aren't. Not saying that those people are bad people, but they're not kind of telling us the right thing to do. I know you mentioned a little bit ago, hey, they're telling you to do this exercise and it's probably not the best exercise for you. Why do you think that happens? It seems like more times than not where these doctors or therapists or rehab specialists are telling us to do these exercises and put these things in our body that maybe isn't the way or isn't what we should be doing. Because I would imagine that they're not bad people, but they're unfortunately giving us not the best advice, which is not really kind of helping us long term. Why do you think that is?
Well, as I mentioned before, pain drives you. They haven't been in pain. When I was in pain, I was trying. I can tell you how many classes and people I tried to help me. But what I found out is it makes sense to them to say, if you just strengthen around your knee, it would take the pressure off your knee. See, that makes sense. Yeah. However, they forgot something. My knee hurts. My knee is sore. It's achy. It's swollen. I can show you pictures of me, Dave. I have a brace on my knee. I'm trying to do lunges because I kept trying and trying. I had a personal trainer for 5 years. He kept every squat, every lunge, you can name it, leg extension machines. I did it all for 5 years. And after that 5 years, that's when my other knee started to hurt. Okay. And it wasn't until it still took me about a good 12 years of kept trying and trying and trying. I'm a personal trainer also to finally figure out that something is not right here. I have to go in the inside of the knee. I have to go and heal the knee first. And then I have to get you functional second. Yep. Then I go after your strength.
See that in the case of doctors, they're going to school for a long time. Even if rehab, massage therapists, personal trainers seem like they should be. They have to get a lot of kind of certifications and a time to know that, hey, okay, if we're trying to get the knee better, then we need to be kind of seeing what's good with the ankle and trying to get that better. I don't know. It seems like I know you're saying that, hey, they from them it makes sense. It seems like they should have some type of a better understanding of the body to say, okay, yeah, this probably makes sense, but the ankle is what we need to be focusing on. That's ultimately going to help the knee. I guess that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
I just went to a trade show with physical therapists because I wanted to introduce my strap. Do you know what I discovered? And I already knew this. They had knee pain. They have hip pain that they can't get rid of themselves because they're coming from the medical industry with the same thought process. That's why there's so many knee replacements. Knee replacements, there's 800,000 people in the United States alone. It's just knee replacements, all because we keep trying to strengthen the people. If we could just get them, I don't know if you're familiar with the kinetic chain, but if we can get them back into the kinetic chain, back into alignment, a lot of these problems would go away.
Yep. No, yeah, and I definitely agree with that. When was that moment that you kind of figured out, particularly with the knee strap, like, okay, I got it figured out. I have something that I think is going to not only help out kind of knee pain as well as reducing the likelihood of you rolling your ankle, but this is something that I could kind of come out with as a product. When was that kind of moment, that I guess aha moment for you, when you came out or when you, at least that idea popped in your head to say, okay, I have something? I would imagine that this was a kind of working process. It wasn't an overnight thing, but I guess when was it you came, okay, I have an idea to kind of solve this issue? Because it seems like you've I guess maybe I want to say a lifelong process out of it. I know you talked about being a personal trainer, massage therapist. I'm not sure if you kind of wanted to do something else, or if you were doing something else prior to kind of going on this journey with like the health and the fitness. But I would imagine that kind of the ankle pain and all that kind of way back when kind of spearheaded you kind of really going like digging deep into this field. But I guess when was that kind of maybe that process? You say, okay, well, with this particular issue, I have something that's it's going to solve for it, and not only is going to solve for it, I need to get this in the hands of people.
Well, first of all, I've always loved fitness, health, and wellness. I knew I was going to be in the industry anyway.
Nice.
I'll just say this so you can get a flavor of my journey. In 2000, I was in so much pain. I was in pain for about 10 years at the time, and this woman did this certain type of massage on my, she did a certain type of massage on my knees, and all my pain went away like that. She did something that went away like that.
Okay.
And so that was called a lymphatic drainage massage. Okay. At the time, I didn't know what that was, but I knew then that she could get me out of pain, then so can I. So that was like in the year 2000, and pain kept coming back, but I knew that alternative medicine was my answer. And that's when I started for 10 years, started to develop and go to all kinds of classes and everything and try so many things. And what happened was in 2014, I was really out of pain in 2014 because I was doing these things called windshield wipers with a yoga strap, but it kept slipping, but it did the job. Okay. It was doing the job. But I think is when I got out of pain and I started to try to teach these classes for women from all over the world. Thanks for COVID. COVID wasn't good, but it was good for me. And that's all they kept saying, Renee, I can't do the windshield wipers. I can't do the windshield wipers. And I said, you got to be able to do those things. And that's when it spurred me that I had to find something. And the main thing, Dave, I really created this strap for not only to do the windshield wipers, but to get the therapists, the doctors, the personal trainers, the nurses, the things. We have to go at the feet, the ankles, the shins, the calves, and the toes if we ever to get people out of pain. So it's kind of like a reminder for them, excellent for good for ankle rolling, good for windshield wipers. But let's start to think we got to build the foundation of people in order to get them out of pain. So
Gotcha. No, that's and then so it seems like the strap you're saying kind of came about trying to get these people to do windshield wipers to kind of get them out of pain. Is that what you're saying there?
Yes.
And then, so I guess going into then this kind of maybe my background with the whole IP side of things, what did you, because it seems like you had some interesting steps along the way, kind of protecting the IP or whatnot. Was that something that you kind of knew about when you're like, okay, I need to protect this thing, or you were kind of learning all this stuff on the fly as it relates to, okay, now I need to protect the product, or I need to work with a manufacturer, or I need to get this thing built. It seems like that was all maybe new to you at that point in time. So how did you kind of, I guess, how did you think to go through that process at whether it was Google University, asking friends and family, would they know an attorney or a manufacturer? How did you kind of get help with that process? Because it can be overwhelming for somebody who has no knowledge of it.
First of all, in 2014, I wrote a book about how to put all this together. So I'm on Amazon. And when COVID hit, I was doing all these classes, and guess what? There was one woman in there. She did internal, external exportation. She would ship overseas. And when she see me, she called me up and said, Renee, we need to talk. And so when we was talking, and as we was talking, that's when I had the strap in mind because she couldn't do the windshield wipers either.
Okay.
And she says, and I said, I'm going to build a strap. And she said, you need to protect it. Out of all those people, I was thousands of women that came to my online, she was the one that said, you need to protect this. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And she said, let me get you into a lawyer and let's get this thing patent. I'm like, patent? What are you talking about?
You had no idea what a patent is. None of that?
Well, I mean, I heard the word patent.
Okay, I got you. If you came out with a book, so I would imagine that you at least had the copyright, just understanding that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was inspired. But what she said, you're gonna take this overseas, and that's when I almost fell out of my chair. I'm like, are you kidding me? Then I got scared and everything like that. But I said, I'm going overseas. So it was She just opened my world up completely, just blew my mind. So it was incredible.
Nice. So then she put you in contact with a patent attorney. I'm assuming that you guys kind of get things worked out. He or she drafts the patent application, they file it. So then I guess how did you go about had the strap been made at that point in time, or you just have maybe the ideal or maybe a drawing or something like that? At this point when you're talking to the lady about kind of coming out with a strap.
Well, what I did was, it was going in 2 parts, but what I had done, I had to cut a couple yoga straps out, and paste things in there together, and then I kind of created it that way, just so I said, this is what I needed to do. Yep, it worked, but it kept trying to work. So when I gave it to the attorney, they just made this crazy looking diagram. I'm like, I guess that's it, but it was a weird looking thing. I said, I guess that's it. But I had to, cut things, piece things together, and that's when I came up with what it looked like. But I knew I wanted handles on it, and I knew what I needed to do, but we had to figure out how to make it do that.
Right. No, yeah, and even just kind of thinking about some of the differences that I was telling you about, kind of me using that kind of elastic band at the gym. Like you said, that doesn't have handles on it, so it's definitely some additional features that your strap has that even like those kind of traditional bands or whatnot don't have. So then, okay, you get you was it any interesting stories kind of going through that time period? Because as I kind of do these interviews more and more, it seems like there's always maybe I don't want to say ups and downs, but some interesting stories, whether it's between you and an attorney or and obviously you don't have to tell like the frustrating stories, if you will. But he got to go through it with like the manufacturers or maybe somebody trying to take the product. Is there any interesting stories that you have that you could share, kind of going through that process with the kind of at least coming out with the strap?
Well, first of all, the attorney that she recommended, he got sick. So then I had to find me another one. So somebody else had recommended me another one. So,
Okay.
And we started, and you pay up front and you get started, and then you hear nothing. I'm like, okay. And then you hear other people talking about, well, this should happen and this should happen. And I think that's the worst thing, as you said before, and you get that. And I'm thinking like, what? And then I'm like stressing out and, but I think the interesting story when when they finally wrote everything up, because I was waiting for it. When they finally wrote everything up, I'm like, oh my God, this product is really going to be nice. And he was encouraging. He just said, because I had 2 parts to it. I wanted to do a holistic part and the strap. So he said, this is good to have 2 parts because one may not make it. So that was encouraging. But I think it's when they wrote it up and they laid it all out, I said, oh my God, this is fantastic. This is good stuff here. And he was just, I think that, you think the process stops and then there's something else. It stops and then there's something else. So it's like, okay, where's my certificate? And then I think they don't even give you out certificates anymore.
Yeah, I think I think you can order them and it's like a nominal fee for, but it's like it's like an e-certificate these days.
Yeah, exactly. No, like he said, I think they stopped at the year I got mine, and he like, I said, my certificate on my wall, man.
So did you pay? I forget how much it is, but did you pay to get the actual physical certificate? I think you could pay like $20 or whatever to get like a.
Oh yeah, I got the physical certificate. Absolutely. That one you got behind you, I seen yours.
Well, for sure you got the.
That's what I got. Absolutely.
Now that's cool. So then, but and this is interesting because so the lady who referred you to the first guy and who you were talking to with the class and saying that you have to protect it, she was saying that okay, this is going to be sold worldwide, but then obviously but for the audience, a U.S. patent protects you here in the U.S. It doesn't protect you abroad. But it seems like this strap has applicability or application in abroad, not just here in the U.S. So did you kind of how did you kind of work through the situation of, okay, do I protect this thing abroad? Do I not protect it abroad? Because as we all know, hey, it's more money when you're trying to protect it abroad, but yeah, the cost may be worth it in certain situations. So how did you kind of go about figuring that part of it out?
Well, I kept thinking I'm new at this, so let me not, I never sold nothing, nothing of this nature. And when he was sharing with me how much it would cost, and I said, it didn't, I'm going to apologize here. It didn't kind of make sense because he wants me to pay all this money for abroad. And then I seem like I only had a time frame to do that. And then I'm thinking like, well, if I can't get it to sell in the United States, I'm paying this money and I may not be able to even, so it was my faith in it that I didn't go in that direction.
Okay.
But you do have to make that decision at that time. But I don't, maybe I'm hoping that the laws are changing that I couldn't go back and do that. So it's not like I couldn't.
Yeah, no, yep. And I mean, that's the strategy where it comes into place. How do you kind of go about this process? I guess kind of backing up a little bit more, a patent doesn't allow you or doesn't give you any rights as relates to selling your product. You can sell a product without having a patent. The patent specifically is like an exclusionary right where it gives you the ability to exclude others from selling it, from making it, from manufacturing it, things of that sort. So I'm saying that to say that I know a lot of times, whether somebody files a provisional application just to have something on file with the USPTO here in the United States, then they start to kind of try to sell the product to see, okay, is this thing selling? Does the market want it? Then to the extent that the market wants it, maybe they not only convert it to a non-provisional, but then they also, can file a patent application in different countries abroad or a PCT application just to kind of be able to kind of look to protect their product in other countries. So, but again, as your attorney mentioned, it is like, unfortunately, time, it's kind of time sensitive dates that you have to kind of let us know as an attorney whether or not you're going to file it in these countries abroad. And to the extent that you kind of miss those dates, then it's kind of tough to get protection abroad at that point. But yeah, I mean, I think that's where the strategy really comes into play, especially when you're talking about, okay, maybe a startup company, they don't have just a ton of money just to be filing all these patent applications that can start costing tens of thousands of dollars to say, okay, do we file a provisional just to have something on file, start trying to sell it to see if it kind of picking up steam and do the market wants it. And if the market does want it, now it's like, okay, not only convert the provisional application to a non-provisional, but maybe we can also kind of start to looking at filing patent applications in different countries that we're looking to maybe sell this thing in or maybe manufacture the product in or whatnot. So yeah, that's why I think the big strategy comes into play with it. But yeah, as you mentioned, it is kind of time sensitive dates that unfortunately, if you miss those dates, then it's kind of tough to kind of file in that country afterwards. So
you can do that? I can file it myself in another country?
Well, no, well, I guess what I'm saying is if you so once you file it, and I'm not sure if you did a provisional application or you did a non-provisional application from the beginning, but once you say, for example, do a non-provisional, then you have, say, a year to kind of make that decision on whether or not you're going to file abroad, or whether it's in Germany, whether it's in China, India, whatever the case may be. And once that year passes from you filing that non-provisional date, then it's kind of tough to it's kind of tough to, or you won't be able to allow to file in those other countries once that date that you have to kind of make that decision passes. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's tough because those dates kind of come up pretty quickly. And as you mentioned, it's like, okay, do I spend this money on, trying to file these patent applications abroad, especially if this thing is maybe not selling, or if I haven't even started selling it yet. So I guess this is a curious question for me. When at the time that you filed the patent application, did you start selling them, or was it ready to be sold, or like how was the product ready to go at that point, or not so much?
Well, I hadn't gone there. There was a period like in 2023, I was going through some whole lot of ups and downs with life itself.
Yeah.
And so this strap was not in my. But he was still working on the patent, but the vision of doing that wasn't there. And you really have to. I mean, I almost think you need to get your product up, and I would think you just need to get it done. Then may go start the patent. Is that way you would?
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what I'm saying. I think especially when kind of money is not in abundance. I think because a provisional is you have a few different patent applications, but typically the two most common patent applications that's filed here, at least in the U.S. among startups, you have a non-provisional, you have a provisional. A provisional patent application is going to be cheaper. It doesn't get examined, but you have to convert it in 12 months to a provisional application. To a non-provisional application. And that non-provisional application, that's the application that's going to get examined at the USPTO it has to be in a particular format. You can look at the provisional application as just a placeholder. It gets your place in line with the USPTO to say, okay, I invented this on this particular date. So it kind of gets your place in line, but it doesn't get examined. But that non-provisional, that when you can convert the provisional to a non-provisional in 12 months, that non-provisional application gets examined, and that's going to be a lot more expensive. Relatively speaking, it's going to be more expensive than a provisional application. So I guess what I kind of a lot of times recommend for like startups or people where, like I said, they just don't have money in abundance to say, okay, let's kind of file a provisional application that's going to maybe cost you a couple $100 if you're a small entity, and that's going to get your place in line. It's going to be $200, a couple $100 from a USPTO fee. The attorney cost may be a little bit more than that, but it's still going to be cheaper. And then that gets your place in line. Then you can, like you said, start trying to sell this stuff and, okay, see whether or not it's picking up steam. And then over that 12-month period, you can decide, okay, has this thing picked up steam enough for me to convert my provisional to a non-provisional? And then, at that point, you can kind of make some decisions on kind of foreign filing is what we call it. So, yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I would say, I wouldn't say start selling the product before you file anything, but I'll definitely I'll at least file the provisional application, a provisional patent application, and then maybe start selling the product. And I think that'll be the way to go, because that provisional patent application is going to be cheaper compared to a non-provisional, and then it kind of gives you this 12-month period to try to sell this product and see if the market is going to accept it, or does the market want the product.
In there somewhere, I remember reading was something about they asked you, have you already started to sell it? Isn't there something in there about that?
Yeah, so and that's interesting, right? And it also comes up abroad. That's why I say also probably to not sell the product first, because in the US they do give you a grace period where if you start, say, selling a product, they give you a year from that date of sale for you to be able to file a patent application on it to protect it. However, in some countries, say a country in Europe or China, once you start selling that thing, you can no longer file in that particular country.
Okay.
So the US, they do give you a grace period. Here in the US, a 1-year grace period from when you start selling it. And we call it a public disclosure, and the sale is a public disclosure. But in some countries, especially, like I said, some countries in Europe, as well as I think China, once you sell this thing, you can't get protection, at least in that country. So that's why I always say, at least get something on file, then you can start selling it, and then see how it does. And to the extent that the market really wants it, I'm selling a lot. How you can start kind of filing it, maybe not only here in the US, or convert to a provisional application, not only here in the US, but you can maybe start to kind of file some patent applications abroad. So that's at least how I would recommend to do it.
Do you have, since it's going to be pending, do you still have protection in that time frame?
You don't have. When you file a provisional application, or to the extent that you file a non-provisional application, there's going to be patent pending. So you don't necessarily have protection until the patent issues.
I see.
Into an actual patent. However, if your patent application is pending and somebody is selling something that's, say, the same exact strap or the same strap, you can send them a cease and desist letter to say, hey, we have this thing pending, and we just put you on notice that please cease. And at least that puts that person on notice, to the extent that if they keep selling it, once your patent issues, you can get you potentially get kind of damages going back from the date that they knew about your product, if that makes sense.
Oh, I see.
So you don't necessarily have, I guess you don't have protection, in other words, until the patent actually issues. But to the extent that you have a patent pending, you can kind of send letters out to people who are selling or maybe infringing on your product, and put them on notice, to the extent that if they say, hey, we're going to keep doing it anyway, and your patent comes out, and they can be
okay. Then you got rights there. I see.
Going back to the to the date that they knew about it. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember reading that when I was doing my paperwork. But you had asked about manufacturers, and my friend that was telling me about this, she said you need a prototype. I'm like, what is a prototype? Okay, so I'm like, because I was like, I'm already paying this money over here. Now you say I got to do something else over here, and then I have to get this prototype. And then you have to go through all these, because my lawyer said, they had nothing for me. And I'm thinking, like, isn't this part of the process? Now I go learn this.
Oh yeah, I think we were talking about that, where the patent attorneys are really, they're just drafting a patent application. They may put you in contact with a guy, but it's not kind of typically included in that package, if you will.
Yeah, so that was another search in itself. And the only thing I've learned about that particular process is when somebody is promising you everything. They were going to give me the video. They were going to put the patent together. I mean, not the patent, but they were going to do the prototype and put the handles on it and do your advertising for you, and on and on and on. And, they said those maybe not be the best ones, but it's just that one thing I'm finding about those particular types of companies is that they don't have a lot of reviews. I'm like, how long you been in business? Got no reviews.
Yep. And that's what I was going to say. If they're kind of offering a one-stop shop like that, they should have some type of reviews or, that they can kind of provide you to say, hey, we've been doing it for a long time, and customers have been satisfied or whatnot, as opposed to offering all this stuff and have nothing for you to kind of do your research or kind of provide to say, hey, look, this person was satisfied. This person was satisfied. This is somebody that we worked on their stuff that you can kind of see in a public domain. They have none of that, but offering all this one-stop shop, that should almost be like a red flag.
Yeah. I went through about 4 of them, just back and forth. And all of them really charge about this, very close to the same. So that was good. But the one I finally chose, I actually went on his LinkedIn page, and he was a Boy Scout. He was a Cub Scout leader. I said, he should be trusted. That was so interesting how I chose him. But, they've been in business a long time, a lot of creativity, and I made a really good choice. They've done a fantastic job.
Nice. So then, now I would like to ask this question, and it's almost a 2-part question, where kind of we know that kind of things are, you have like the ups and downs. It's not like, okay, necessarily just a complete, like a linear a path where just kind of success is kind of going up and up and up. You have your good days, you have your bad days, you have your things that you have to get through, the problems, but you also have your kind of breakthroughs. So I guess the first question is, what would you say was the biggest kind of breakthrough of kind of the product, or at least kind of things up until this point? Then maybe what was one of the biggest challenges that you had to like kind of really overcome, whether it was the patent attorney, whether it was manufacturing and whatnot? What would you say, again, the biggest breakthrough as well as the biggest challenge with things up until this point?
Well, the biggest breakthrough, this guy, he was sending me the prototypes, right? And God, even the guy said, I don't know how we're really going to get this to work, but we was back and forth with that. And so he finally put this thing on, this little thing here is a plate on the bottom of it.
Okay.
This plate on the bottom.
Yep.
And we made it really long. We had it longer. We had little hoops in it. Anyway, I took it out to this gym where all these basketball players were. I said, can you try this out for me? And he said, yeah. So Dave, I'm out there, and they tried it, and they pull it, and it breaks. Okay. He's like, I'm sorry, it broke. I'm like, this is good that it broke, but it's embarrassing. That it broke, So we was on like model number 10. We finally got it. After model number 10, we was trying all kinds of things. So the breakthrough was this little plate on the bottom is what keeps everything firm, and it helps to push the foot around compared to just, because it was slipping in the Velcro. So the plate on there, it held it. I said, yes.
Also, the plate wasn't on there when the guy broke it then.
No, yeah, but it was a longer plate.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I'm trying we need to make adjustments in here for people, because it was longer than this.
Gotcha.
And when they pulled on it, he said, oh, I'm sorry that I broke it. And all these people were watching, that's okay, but you let me know that ain't it.
Right.
That ain't it. But we just kept trying it, and then that's what the plate was the main thing that has made it work.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah, and I was going to say, out of all the kind of the straps and the bins that I've seen, I haven't seen one with like that plate on it as well. So again, as a patent attorney, these are like kind of differentiated features that I kind of look for when obviously someone that comes up with a product, and I'm trying to kind of look at it in light of like what's out there, or to say, okay, what are the differences? What are something that we can kind of really rely on to try to get a patent on it? Yeah, and I haven't seen anything with like a strap or a bin having a plate. Again, it may be out there, but at least I haven't came across it.
I think that's when he finally put that on there. I'm like, oh my God, that is, because it got my logo on it. Can't see it there, but it's logo in there.
My long.
What's that? I said, so that's that's my branding, man. So the plate is what changes everything about the strap. Nobody else has a plate like that.
Nice. So then what would you say was the biggest challenge? It seems like you said that was a breakthrough. It seems like that could have been a challenge as well. What would you say was maybe the biggest challenge kind of going through the process up until this point?
I would say the biggest challenge is when you work for the demand, when you're working for the people that are designing, they basically say, Renee, we could help you, but we only can do certain amounts of these prototypes, and so you have to try to explain it well enough to them, give them enough information. And so when I was running out, he basically said they only usually do 8 tries at this thing.
Okay. Did you have to pay like another fee for them to keep going if it came to that?
I kept smiling a lot and saying, man, this is great. You don't know how this is going to change the world and on and on and on. So I had them hire about 5 up, because the wonderful thing about this particular group was when you sat and talked with them, like we're talking, it'd be like 3 of them.
Okay.
3 different guys, and they're all thinking about what they can do. And but I didn't know I had won over my prototypes. He said, Renee, went over like a couple more. And I think the other challenges are too is, they're it's keep being more ignored. Let's keep being expenses. Just putting this tag on there was another expense on there, and got my logo, on the strap, So all of those things. So the challenges are you just have to be ready that things are just gonna, if how much you want to keep branding what you're doing, money is gonna have to keep coming out. But I love my product. I love it. So it got to the point where, oh my God, it's like, but I was loving it going through it. But they were suggesting, I said, I need my logo on there somewhere. And they put that on, and they said, Renee, you make it more, it makes it look more, with the tag on there, tag hanging off, and got my information in the tag. I mean, that's like ready to go into the store.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely makes it look more professional and put together.
Yes, yeah. And so those are some challenges that you have. That I'm still working with them. So I know it's going to be some more money.
Okay.
But there's a few more tweaks I need to do on here. And, those things are going to come up, but you have to start to love your product.
Yep.
And if you don't, then that's going to be a little harder. So I love my product. So we need to make a few more tweaks here.
Nice. So then, and this seems like this can kind of go hand in hand. Do you require, because I know you talked earlier about kind of doing these online classes. I know after you kind of finish with this, you're going to go do another class where you're kind of a workout class. And I'm assuming that you're using maybe the bin in a workout class, or so is it easy to kind of be able to say, hey, I have this available for purchase, whether you require your clients to use it, or you're saying, hey, you can kind of get one if you want one, and these are the benefits. How do you kind of organically make it available for your clients? That would be like, hey, get this product.
Discount. I think the thing, a lot of the women that been with me when COVID first started, and they've had all their knee issues, and they can exercise and travel, so they really believe in me, and I kept them in the loop. I said, hey y'all, this is what's happening, and they're all for me. So I will introduce this to them and have them purchase it. The thing about them, they already know how to do the motion because we've been trying it for the last 3 years. They know how to do the motion, but this is just going to take it to another level for them. Gotcha. But right now I have a lot of workshops coming up, and I'll be introducing it to them, introducing it to people all over the world, because this is what and that's why I said I went to the physical therapist conference, because they all need to learn about this. We all need to build that foundation for people with joint problems, period. So they will purchase it.
No, and I agree with that. So then I guess kind of final few questions here. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs? I know it seems like again, it's been a process, but it seems like I would imagine that you're happy that you went through this process. And for those a lot of people watching this stuff may be kind of aspiring to get out there. We all have ideas and things like that, but a lot of us don't act on them for whatever reason. And hopefully, kind of them watching these interviews kind of gets them a little closer to kind of jumping off, I guess, into the game and kind of coming out with their product and starting a business around it and things like that. But what advice would you give to those who may be on the fence, kind of doing this whole double dutch? Do I get off into the game? Do I not get off into it? What advice would you give to those aspiring entrepreneurs?
Whenever, and this is what the lawyer told me when the patent came through, when the patent came through, he said that Renee, this is really something. I said, what do you mean? He said, most of the time when people first do their first time, it doesn't always go through. It doesn't all, and so we all have to take risk. We have to, no way, if we don't get no risk, it's very difficult to get a reward. And so to look at what you do and look at to say, hey, how can this impact the world? How can this impact my life? How can it impact someone that really needs what I do? And I knew that once I do this and once I get people to think about, building this foundation, it's going to change the world. It's going to change the way they, so if you have a product out there, even if it's something very simple that can really change someone's life, go for it. We have to go for this. It's fantastic when you get there and you see your product, you got your name on and stuff like that. It's nothing like, I'm sorry, I got it in my bathroom hanging up. You got a product out there and you're not sure, just like, you just said, do the, start the process, the provisional process. It's like a couple $100. And then, I said, go for it. Absolutely. People need what we have.
Yeah, and I love that, and I think that's for me. I think it's not given enough credit when you can have something, an idea in your head, and not only kind of bring it to life in terms of a product within other people buying a product. I think that's like an ingenious thing that you all as inventors and business owners don't get enough credit for. And it definitely sounds like, in kind of you mentioned it being a proud moment to the point where like I kind of created this thing from an idea in my head, and now I'm hanging in my bathroom.
If you look at the sketch, now that's the lawyer did. I sent him a picture. He like, oh, okay. And that's one thing too. I sent it back to the lawyer and says, thank you for, doing this and putting this together for me. So I keep them on board too.
Nice. So, and then I guess the last thing, how can people follow you? How can people purchase the product? I'm not sure if it's available for purchase yet, but how can people follow you? And then how can people purchase the product to the extent that they want to purchase one day? I maybe get one of these things. Cause like I said, after I had that ankle injury, I'm used to having bumpy neck. Look, I'm used to. I've tried to kind of cope with getting older, I should say. Back when I have an injury, I'm back good to go in 2-3 days, unless it was a big injury. Now it's been like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm like, I go to the doctor on this thing. I'm stretching this thing and still kind of working out a little bit, and it's still not 100%. So it's kind of keeping me from playing basketball. So it's kind of been frustrating a little bit over you.
Yeah. Well, my website is called Heal My Knees. Just put an S on the end, healmyknees.com. And if you go on there, and it's not for sale yet, but just say I'm interested. And what I'm doing is just taking some pre-orders.
Okay.
I do have it on eBay right now. It's on eBay. And again, people are going to see there, I got pre-order on there. And Heal My Knees, I'm all on social media. I'm all on Facebook, so you can learn more about me, and also on TikTok, Facebook, you name it. I'm out there, sharing this information because it needs to get out there. And the more people, thank you for your show here, the more people that know about this, the world will be a more healthy and healing place.
I like it. I guess I just kind of thought of a quick question. So I know a lot of people, sometimes they go to like Kickstarter or Indiegogo to try to sell their product early on. Did you maybe not kind of decided against that for whatever reason? I know we were talking earlier about, trying to see whether or not people want the product. And it seems like I've kind of seen a lot of people go to either Kickstarter or Indiegogo to kind of, it's actually like, okay, this is the product that I have, and they can, as you have mentioned, to the extent that you're interested in it, they can kind of get it at least early on at a discounted price, just kind of for you to see whether or not people really want this thing. And okay, now you're like, okay, we have all these people who are interested in paying money to kind of reserve one for them. Okay, yeah, this is something I could kind of really go forward with getting a pan on it and all these things. Did you ever think about that as far as kind of using one of those platforms to try to see whether or not people were interested in it?
Well, I know right now I am signed up for Shark Tank, and I'm
Okay.
also this place called Dragons and Dens in the UK.
Yeah.
But I was also, reading the literature. When you go into the Kickstarts, you have to be careful with them. I don't know. You may know about it myself, but yourself. But I wasn't. I have coaches that are helping me here. It's very important to have coaches to help you here. They wasn't swaying me to that direction.
Okay, I got you. No, yeah, and that's the thing about just everybody kind of business is different, and for one reason or another, that may not be the best route for them. I know I've had a few people, or a fair amount of people come on, and that's kind of a route that they took. Obviously, not everybody goes that route, but uh, yeah, I just kind of figured I'd ask you whether or not that was something that you had thought of, or if you just decided against it. But it seems like, yeah, based on the coaches and the advice you got, it was like, let's maybe not kind of do that route at this time.
Because, you don't have as much I know your patent is protected.
Yep.
But it was, I think it was too open form. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you may know more about it than I do, but
okay. Nice. Well, audience, this was a good one. She dropped a lot of jewels. Definitely go reserve the product. Like I said, this one, especially for all the athletes, basketball players, football players, soccer players. We know ankle pains. We all had our fair share of ankle pains. Look, I didn't know that later on could turn into knee pain, so I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. So, like I said, I'm definitely interested in getting one of these things. So go follow Renee on social media. See all the great things that she is coming out with. HealingMyKnees.com. I'll put that in the description so that you guys can check that out. And until next time, audience, see you later.